All right, so I'm making two videos back to back here. Today is Friday, August 16th, 2019. The time is 9:18 p.m. I'm on my way home from work. I love to work late. At 5 o'clock, my brain turns on and I'm ready to go. So I work until 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night frequently. It doesn't really mesh with the corporate scene. It's a counter to expectations, but you know, it is what it is, and that's the way I am. That's the way I've always been. So there you go. If you're productive, they don't care. That's what I keep telling myself anyway. So what do I want to say? Okay, Max Lucado. I put out a post prior to me clearing the disk space off of my phone. I put out a post that said that with a picture of Max Lucado, saying that Max Lucado is a deep state asset, have no doubt. And a whole bunch of people, and by a whole bunch of people, by my standards, for me, just to be clear, it's like 3 people. Okay? I've been doing this stuff for years, and I have like 3 followers. But that's all right. I have a philosophy to justify that. Just like I have a philosophy that justifies my atypical biorhythmic schedule of awareness and energy and attention and focus. I have a philosophy to justify this as well. I could chase that rabbit, but I won't. I'm going to be strong and resist the temptation to chase that rabbit. So, anyway, getting back to Max Lucado, I have to say that a couple of people did ask. They said they wanted to hear more. I said I'll do my best to get back to you. And so here it is. Let me just disclose fully and transparently at the outset that I have no evidence. I have no empirical evidence. I have a philosophy about empirical evidence also, and I'll not chase that rabbit either. But I find my philosophy on that particular point to be quite compelling. Maybe someday I'll do a video about that. So it's not empirical. It is not substantiated, really. I mean, it's substantiated, but the philosophy is born out of interpretation. It's not born out of conclusions that are substantiated. It's born out of evidence that is substantiated, but it is interpretations of that evidence. And you could argue that every idea or every theory is an interpretation of evidence, but and I guess ultimately I would have to agree with that if you wanted to make that point. So here's the thing. Let's take a couple steps back. I'm going to try to do this quick, but really it's a tangled ball. So I don't know how fast I can be. It's like a tangled a rubber band ball, you know. And I don't know if as I try to pursue this and explain this and make it clear and concise, if the rubber bands are going to break and start popping all over the place, and it's just going to be a big mess. I don't know. I'm going to do the best I can here. So, all right. The weirdness. Okay, as it is above, so it is below. Okay? All right. That's like the genesis of weirdness. And the weirdness is on the below side, I would propose. I once had someone who was very dear to me, and we saw a movie called As It Is Above, So It Is Below, I think. Or As Above. I don't know. Something like that. And it was, the setting was in Paris, and it was the catacombs. Okay? All right. I'm already, man, the thing is already coming unwound here. Okay. The point is that there is a world below. That's the point. That really is the point. There is a world below. And it is exactly like the world above in many ways, but not in every way. It is exactly like with the Roman Catholic Church in its relationship to Christianity. Christianity, basically, all of Christianity rolls up under Catholicism and Protestantism, right? And I guess some people might say, well, what about the Greek Orthodox Church or the Eastern Orthodox Church, or whatever? You know, I don't know. But I'm just going to say largely, everything rolls up under those 2 headings. And even Protestantism rolls up under the under Catholicism, right? I mean, Martin Luther and, all that stuff. So it's the same way underneath. Everything rolls up under the Illuminati. There's like 1,000 different denominations of Christians, and some people say that, oh, that's a sign of weakness. That's a sign of disorganization. That's a sign that it's not true. Everybody's saying everybody's wrong. Yeah, well, no, that not. It's the same thing underneath. It's the same thing below. They have factions. They fight. Their factions fight. They argue. They have occultic beliefs, but they don't all agree on their beliefs. And there are structures. There are institutional structures underneath. I mean, the big one, obviously, is the Freemasons. The Shriners are above the Freemasons. You can't be a Shriner unless you're like a 33rd level Freemason, from what I understand. So you got the Freemasons, you got the Shriners, you got the Order of the Oak, the Order of the Willow, the Order of the Axe, the Order of the Bow, the Order. There's thousands of these little secret societies, some quasi-secret, some very secret, I don't know how many of our presidents were Freemasons, or how many of our presidents were members of Skull and Bones, but we've had 45 presidents. I think it's a huge percentage of our presidents have been members of these secret societies, which is actually very germane to my point. The point being that the weirdness comes in. It's like the butterfly effect. If you're not familiar with the butterfly effect is if you have a complex system that looks very vast and very immutable and very complex, right? But you can make the smallest, most delicate little change in this system, and the entire system changes, right? You may have heard about the introduction of wolves into a national park, and I'm not going to go into all this because I'm chasing rabbits, and I don't want to chase any more. I'm going to do my best not to chase too many rabbits, but the introduction of wolves into this national park changed the shape of the rivers, okay? They used to be straight, and now they wind like they're supposed to, like stereotypically what we imagine a river doing, right? So you got to look that one up for yourself to find out how that works. But it's amazing when you first hear it. You're like, no, there's no relationship to the presence of wolves to the shape of rivers. Shape isn't really the right word. Path would be more the right word. To the paths that the rivers take. That's crazy. How can a wolf change the path of a river? It doesn't make any sense. Well, you got to look it up, and I'm pretty sure once you learn how it works, your mizzle will be blizzled. And by that I mean your mind will be blown. It is mind-blowing. It's a mind-blowing account of things. So that's an example of a butterfly effect. Now, the phrase butterfly effect comes from something that has actually literally to do with butterflies, but I don't know the background of that story. There's a great show called River Monsters, and he did something on a butterfly effect down in the Amazon with the river there also, but again, I'm not going to chase that rabbit. But point being is that it's similar to like the wolves, similar type tone of things, a small little change in a vast and seemingly immutable system, unbelievably complex. You just turn one little screw, so to speak, and the whole thing changes, So, and of course it takes time. It's not like instantaneous or anything, but it's fascinating in any case. So, the difference between the world above and the world below is that the world below cannot present itself for what it is. That's the difference. That's the little thing that changes everything. That changes everything. You meet somebody from a local church above, and they say, we're from this church, my name is such, I'm an usher, I'm a deacon, I'm a this, I'm a that, yada, 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 this is what we believe, bada bing, bada boom. And you're like, okay, cool. And you know what? 99 times out of 100, everything the guy or the woman told you is, it's pretty much the way it is. I mean, there's nothing like, it's transparent, it's clear, But you meet somebody from the below, a member of one of these secret societies or whatever, it gets weird, man. It gets really, it gets weird. But, oh my gosh, it's just so weird. Okay? It's like Twilight Zone weird. And the more you look at it, the weirder it gets. And it's one of those things that I describe as an abyss. It's like an abyss. It's like a hole to hell. It's like a hole that goes to death. And it's just a black hole. It's just a void, right? A void to nothingness. A void, a tunnel to nowhere, right? And it stinks of death because it's like an asymptote. It's like it never really reaches any destination, but at every step of the journey, it's just death, 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 and more death. So it just stinks of death and rot and disease and suffering and pain, and that's. But okay, you're never going to attract anybody to the abyss if you leave the abyss unadorned. So what they do is they build up these multi-billion-dollar, multi-trillion-dollar adornments to put around the abyss and on top of the abyss, to cover up the abyss, to deny that the abyss is what it is. And that's how they attract people. So if you meet somebody, and I'm not judging individuals. I'm not saying if your uncle, your brother, your friend, your neighbor, your father, yourself, your whatever, you're what is a member of the Freeman. I'm not saying they're an evil person. I'm talking about the macro level of things. Like I told you, it's weird. It's very weird. And I have to remember what I was even talking about because I'm chasing rabbits here. And, Max Lucado. Okay. So, and this, it just gets weird. Okay. All right. So the whole point of secret societies is for them to deny who they are. Okay. Because they are agents of the abyss. They are agents of death. They are agents of Satan. They are agents of Lucifer. They are agents of the devil, whether you believe the devil is an entity, a literal entity, or if you believe the devil is some kind of literary construct that is a persona of a certain subset of values and beliefs and practices and attitudes and spirits. And I mean like a spirit, like somebody has a happy spirit, a mean spirit, that kind of spirit. So you kind of separate the mean from the nice. You separate the greedy from the generous, and in a literary kind of anthropomorphized or personified way, you build up this literary figure and you call him the devil, and then everything good is God and everything evil is the devil. So whether you believe he's an actual entity or just this literary construct, I'm going to argue for the sake of this conversation. It doesn't matter either way. It doesn't matter. The end effect is the same. So it's your call as to which way you want to go on that. It doesn't matter. So they're agents of that stuff. But see, nobody is going to sign up to be an agent of the abyss. Nobody's going to sign up. I mean, they might not be. I'm just saying, even if they are evil, which they're probably not. Most people are, 99% of people are not. 99% of people are good, I mean, 100% of the people I meet are good. I can honestly say I've never met somebody in my life that was genuinely evil. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but I've never met one, Everywhere I go, people are ridiculously nice. So, they're not, right? So what happened? How did they get tangled up in this abyss thing? Well, they got tangled up because the abyss doesn't represent itself to be the abyss. The agents of the abyss don't represent themselves to be agents of the abyss, right? They represent themselves to be and this is why it's so weird. It's like I said, if you go to an agent of the above world and you ask them who they are and what they stand for, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, they tell you, now you know. You go to an agent of the below world, they tell you, bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, you don't know. You have no idea. You might as well not ask them, because if you're an agent of the below world, you're going to lie. But it gets even weirder than that. And that is that they eat their own lies. They eat their own stuff. In other words, they believe their own lies. And we all believe our own lies from time to time. If you believe your own lies all the time, then you're a sociopath or something along those lines, right? But we all believe our own lies about certain things from time to time. I'm sure that all of us have lies that are distinct to us, that we believe all the time. And that's why we do things habitually over and over and over again that are damaging to us physically, emotionally, financially, relationally. You know, we all have these little pet lies that we're programmed with from our childhood or from whatever. I think mostly it's childhood, to be honest with you. And we believe them. So that's not, again, I'm not separating these people out and saying, ooh, they're nasty, they're ugly, they're evil, they stink. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a sense in which we're all in this together, right? So, you got, okay. Now, so the question is, who among the agents of the abyss knows what the heck is going on for real? Like, they don't eat their own stuff. They don't believe their own lies. And the answer to that question, I believe, remarkably, is none of them. They're all deceived. They're all deceived. All the way up to the top guy, whoever the top guy is. Maybe it's Warren Buffett. I mean, maybe it's Oprah Winfrey. Maybe it's the Clintons. I mean, maybe there's 1,000 top people. I mean, I don't know. All the way up to the top, they believe they eat their own stuff. They believe the lies they've been fed. You know? They believe them. Right? I mean, think about this. I think it was C.S. Lewis, and I'm gonna butcher this quote, but said something to the effect of, a tyrant is better than a socialist, because a person who's doing evil and acknowledges or fails or doesn't deny that he's doing evil will eventually tire of doing evil. But a socialist is fully convinced that the evil he does is good, so he will never tire of doing evil, right? He goes to bed satisfied. I think somewhere in there is somewhere that notion is part of that quote, right? So you think about that. You can't have an army of deceivers who know that they're lying. That won't work. That goes against our biochemistry. That's just, it's stressful. That's how lie detector tests work. They work on stress. It's stressful to lie. So you have to convince people that the lies you're feeding them are not lies. Okay, so there's that spectrum thing that, again, you got lies, not lies, but an even better option is to tell the people that the lies you're feeding them are a special, super duper, quadruple special kind of truth. Right? Super truth. And don't tell anybody, because we're secret. It's our little secret. These truths are hard, and there's so much to this. It's just mind blowing. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of the weirdness. It just gets weirder and weirder and weird. Okay, I'm eventually going to get to Max Lucado. So what they do, just like anybody else, as it is above, so it is below. Just like any other church, any institution, anywhere. They go after the big people. They go after the pretty people. They go after the articulate people. They go after the people that come from good bloodlines, because they know that they were raised well, if that's the case. And they're not going to go one day, they're going to, something from their childhood is going to fire off in their brain, and they're going to go off the rails, and, they're going to have to deal with a mess. No. Excuse me. I should have had that donut. All right. So Max Lucado is this perfect, always photogenic, always well-spoken. Okay, I don't know where to go with this, right? So these are the people they go after, okay? And how they get them, I don't know. Maybe, and like I said, I don't know that Max Lucado is one of these people. I don't know it, but I just think it, I feel it, I believe it. I think it's very, very likely. All right, so let me tell you why real quick, just so you won't think I'm just totally like flopping around here in a swamp like a half-dead fish, which is what I feel right now. Max Lucado is one of these, touchy-feely, feel-good preachers that gets up there and tells people like 1/20th or 1/10 or 1/4 of the Bible. Just to feel good, just to happy. Oh, God loves you. Oh, let me massage your back. And all that's good stuff. And that, like I said, I'm not denying that that's part of the Bible. It is part of the Bible. It's there. I mean, and we should endeavor to make people feel good, but we should not. That's not the only thing that's in the Bible, right? Quite the contrary, right? And he's one of these guys. And he's famous, right, for saying that stuff like, I don't believe politics and religion belong together. I don't believe politics and faith belong. I mean, a man of God should be speaking about politics and yada yada. Okay, so the thing of it is as long as the Satanists, like the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas, are in power, all of these touchy feel-good preachers are running around acting like moral authorities, saying, I don't believe politics. But then as soon as somebody gets into power that they don't like, it's like a switch gets flipped. Boom. All of a sudden now it's like, we don't like that person. That's wrong. You should not vote for that man. It's like, whoa. Wait a minute. Who flipped your switch? Where did you get the command from to flip the switch on this particular issue? Who sent you the command? What the heck is it? I mean, Max Lucado was one of the most famous Christian leaders to avoid the subject of politics. But then as soon as Trump's running for office, he's writing a freaking op-ed in the Washington Post. The Washington Post is owned by Trump's sworn adversary, the bald-headed guy that looks like Dr. Evil, Jeff Bezos, right? With the little buggy alien eyes and the bald head and, $1 billion. That's, Jeff Bezos, And he's another one. They set these guys up to be the one person in control of this piece of the economy, because the people who are really in control don't want to have to deal with 1,000 entrepreneurs in a free market. They can't control 1,000 leaders of industry. They just want one guy, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 guys. They want a small number of guys that they handpick, and they'll buy everybody else off, chase everybody else out of the market, and they'll give these guys a monopoly. And they're in business together, where Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and all these guys are on the business side, and these elite that set the whole thing up, they're on the power side, the one world government side, and these are just their pawns. Zuckerberg, you ever see Zuckerberg? Zuckerberg is not running a multi-trillion-dollar corporation. This is Zuckerberg. That's all he knows how to do, is just sit there. I mean, he barely knows how to talk. He doesn't know how to comport himself in public. I mean, there's no way this guy, this little college punk, is running $1 trillion corporation. He's just a pawn. And the same thing with Bill Gates, except Bill Gates has been around for decades, and he's pretty comfortable where he is. He doesn't have, he's still a total geek, but at least he knows how to conduct himself in public, and he has some communication skills and whatnot and so forth. And Zuckerberg isn't that bad, but I'm just saying he's not like anybody that you would, no, there's no way, right? They handpick these guys and they say, okay, you're going to run this monopoly, you're going to run this monopoly, you're going to run this monopoly, you're our guy, we own you, you do what we say, we're not even going to ever call you unless we need you, basically. And so that's my idea of Max Lucado. He's their guy, right? As soon as the guy that started running for president that the elite didn't want, they called him Max Lucado. Max Lucado probably thought he was never going to even hear from them. Right? But he has his little mini monopoly on evangelical Christianity with his, however, $10 million book sales and his giant church and his this and his that and his that and his this. And, as long as he doesn't say anything to upset them, they're happy with him. And as long as he does whatever they tell him to do when they need him, they're happy with him, right? I mean, they have trillions of dollars. It doesn't matter if they invest $100 million in this clown down in Texas to make him one of the most influential evangelical leaders, and then he bombs out and burns out or whatever and doesn't do what he's supposed to do. It doesn't really matter. $100 million to them is nothing, right? I mean, $1 million is a stack of $100 bills as high as the Empire State Building, rounding off, being rough calculation, right? $1 trillion is like 600 miles, or somewhere between 400 and 600 miles. So Empire State Building, 600 miles. That's the difference. They don't care about billion. They don't care about that. I'm sorry. Empire State Building is $1 billion. $1 million is 20 inches. So 20 inches, $1 million. Empire State Building, $1 billion. 300 and 400, 600, it depends on how you calculate it. I calculate it to be 380 some odd miles. I saw something on the internet, they calculated it to be 600 miles. Stacked. $100 bills. Okay? On top of each other, flat. 600 miles, that's $1 trillion. They have trillions, they don't care about $100 million. $100 million is like, that's like a piece of dirt they knock off the bottom of their shoe. You know? They don't care about Max Lucado and his little $100 quasi, Christian empire down there in Texas. I mean, even if he doesn't do, but they know they give somebody what to them is a lot, and they got him. Because people like Max Lucado, these elites in evangelical Christianity, they don't want to lose their little fancy little house and their late edition little car and their little vacation and their little 401k and their little investment accounts and their little this and they don't want to lose that. They'll compromise their doctrine. They'll compromise it like that. They don't care. They just want their lifestyle, right? So that's the first thing. To be honest with you, there was about 4 things about Max Lucado, and I can only think of that one right now. Oh my gosh. Okay. I guess what I want to say is that the whole thing was just too weird, right? Because Trump is like a 72-year-old man, and Max Lucado is talking about him dating his daughter, and it's like, dude, this is just weird. You came out of your little protective shell of being apolitical, totally sold out to Jesus, yada yada, so to condemn a man over the fact that you wouldn't let him date your daughter? I mean, that just stinks of something being off. That just stinks, man. Something's just wrong with that. I don't know what it is. It's just wrong, but it's like he's trying really, really, really hard to find something where there is nothing to find. Or it's like he's trying really, really, really hard to please somebody by being overly dramatic and just sort of pulling something out of some weird place in some parallel universe and running around with it and saying, look at this, look at how dramatic I am. And it's like, no, dude, that's weird, man. That's weird. I mean, that's just, especially after we have a president like Bill Clinton, who's like a rapist and who's paid women hundreds of thousands of dollars to drop their accusations of rape. And I mean, we got Michelle Obama. You trying to tell me that Max Lucado doesn't know Michelle Obama's a man, a transvestite, a transgender? She's a transvestite. She's not a transgender. A transgender, if you're going to be a transgender, you have to have the operation. You have to have, a lot of stuff. He just dresses like a woman. You trying to tell me Max Lucado doesn't know? Come on, man. And then you got Max Lucado making a big deal out of Donald Trump not being allowed to date his daughter because he's not good enough to date his, or some. I mean, I can't even conceive of what the heck he's trying to say. It's like he's not a good enough. It's like, so what, man? Go back to Texas. Go back and sell a book. Go back to your little book sales, your little book stand, and sell some more books. What are you even talking about? But he says nothing about abortion. He says nothing. I mean, he's like a quasi-elite, right? How do you not know about human trafficking? Everybody, we got billboards up in Tampa about. We got billboards Oh, this thing's about to cut off. I'm going to make another video. I'm going to turn it off and make start over. Not start over, but start a new one.